What's the worst dentist experience you've ever had? I broke a part of my tooth off from eating too many cough sweets when I had a cold. I went to the dentist and they gave me two options. 1. We fill it up and hope for the best. 2. We do a root canal, that way nothing could go wrong in the future. So I chose a root canal. Family and friends told me it should go fine. A little painful, but you should be okay overall. So the day comes. They get the anesthetic and numb me, but the anesthetic doesn't do much. I feel a lot of it. I grin and bear and they add more anesthetic. Then the drill reaches the nerve and I jump and near enough scream. The dentist and her assistant are both looking terrified at one another. They quickly fill up my mouth with some filled and practically throw me out the door. I remember after going to the job center to explain why I am late and why I am drooling from one side of my face. I will say, if you ever want to torture someone, go for their teeth. So many nerves, so much pain. But later that very filling fell out on holiday, exposing the nerve. The pain. Went to the dentist to get a chipped tooth fixed, and I told them before I went in that it's gonna need fixed. So I go in and wait in the waiting room for a solid 20 minutes. Then when I finally get to go back, the dentist look at my teeth for like 2 minutes. Then says, "Yep, those need fixed." I reply in a sarcastic tone, "Really? Are you sure?" "Yep." "Well, are you gonna fix them?" "Oh no, you'll have to make another appointment for that." Then when I go back to the dentist to get the tooth fixed, they have a nurse in there who was obviously new and didn't have a dang clue what she was doing. Do they decide to fill it with that weird plastic crap that they gotta shine the light on to harden? So they get it filled and the nurse shines the light on it for what she thinks is long enough. So the doc goes to take the mold out and the filling comes out with it. Cause the freaking nurse didn't shine the light on it enough. Luckily I was numbed up anyway, cause I got a couple cavities filled too. But there is nothing scarier than when you have a doctor with tools in your mouth say, "Oh crap." Needless to say, I didn't go back after that. Actually, I haven't been to any dentist since then. Dunno why you call the composite resin weird plastic crap. It's pretty typical to use to fix minor chipped teeth and usually lasts 5-10 years at least. Around 8 or 9 years old, I went to the dentist to remove my 2 baby canines to make room for the 2 that would grow in crooked should I not get the procedure. The oral surgeon numbs me up adequately, or so I thought. He then extracts one tooth after a bit of wiggling and jostling and it came out fairly easily, with only slight pain. Although, man, this is going to be a breeze. Boy, was I wrong. The second tooth was not as loose as the first. In fact, it was still attached to my jaw. To my youthful horror, I watched as the oral surgeon climbed on top of the table, straddling me, pulling and tugging on this tooth. I felt searing pain shoot through my bone, and I heard harsh cracks as I physically felt the tooth break away. Tears were rolling down my cheeks at this point, and the oral surgeon soon saw, panicked, and applied more numbing solution. Finally the tooth broke free, and I breathed a stinging, throbbing sigh of relief. After all of this, the man has the audacity to give me chocolate ice cream as a farewell gift. I sat, limp-lipped, looking as if I was one of those dang cleaning fish on the side of the aquarium walls while I tried to slurp on this chocolate mush, which ended up all over my clothes. Yeah, I didn't want any sort of doctor sticking tools in my mouth anytime soon after that. My dentist is kind of crazy, but this situation was my fault. I've been going to him since middle school and he's always called me dude or man. When I came back from college for an appointment, he held out his hand and said, "What's up, man?" For some reason after being in college, something about that phrase just clicked in my head and I gave him daps. I think that's the phrase. Like I said hey and slid my hand and did the finger clasp thing. There was a fraction of a second where we both were really confused about what happened, but to his credit he just moved on. I was mortified, though. Went in to get an abscessed molar pulled. New dentist. Yep, off to a bad start. Numbs me up and starts going all gung-ho on the tooth. But he can't get a good grip, and every time he tries to rock it, he cracks a piece off, making it that much harder to hold on to. First Novocaine shot doesn't take all the way, so I'm getting injected multiple times as he's flailing around in my mouth. He gets fed up and decides to drill in to create an anchor point or something. Cracks the tooth wholly in half. Still can't get it out, still breaking pieces off. We pass the 2-hour mark. I'm in tears and tensing up every time he leans back toward me. The dentist, who's usually there, passes through on his lunch break. New doc calls him over, and he immediately puts a stop to this mess to renumb me again and take an x-ray to see what the heck's going on down below. Turns out the roots of my molar are shaped like a fish hook, and that's why the tooth is proving so difficult to move. Old doc kicks new doc out of the way and slaps on some gloves instead of heading back to lunch, and subsequently breaks the tooth again into quads. With a good grip and a slow, steady rocking, he is able to pull each piece out. All in all, took just over 3 hours of heck in that chair. Couple days later, dry socket, FML. I had a cavity filled without Novocaine. I had him stop the drill because it was pretty painful. Upon telling him this, he says that I only thought it hurt. I remember a dentist my dad took us to for the first time when I was a kid. His name was Dr. Wolf, because frick him. I went in when I was about 10 or 11, so this is about 15 years ago. I remember instantly feeling scared when I laid eyes on him. He had a horrible demeanor and he looked like a fricking serial killer. He got down right into my face trying to be all friendly and crap and gave me the creepiest fricking smile I'll never forget. His fricking teeth were so fricking yellow they were almost green. Almost all of his bottom front row of teeth were completely sideways and crusted over with plague and black crap, and OMG the smell. I turned around and told my dad I didn't feel good and told him I would wait in the lobby with him. Then he turned to my older sister and started talking to her like that creepy old uncle you never liked as a kid. But she was in high school now, so she went all roll-eyed and rebel on him. Satisfying. Anyway, she had a cavity she needed to replace, so my dad waited for her to be done with the procedure. I remember thinking about him the entire time I was reading the stupid Cosmo magazine or some crap that I wasn't even reading. And how many bodies this guy has in his basement. Frick, he was creepy. About an hour later my sister comes out and my dad pays and we leave. The first thing my sister says is, "Dad, that guy is really creepy and weird." He agrees with a chuckle. Next day my sister's brand new filling breaks off in like 5 pieces and falls right out before breakfast even started. My dad was waiting for him when he got to the office and he said he tried to blame it on my sister. "Oh, it's because your daughter was not following my instructions. It's because she didn't bite down hard enough." Dad called his bank and made them refund him the money and told Dr. Creeper Wolf to go frick himself and he wasn't going to pay him. I remember being so happy when he said that. He's probably dead now though. RIP. My childhood dentist was kind of slipping. He was getting close to retirement age, so he started hiring on other dentists to take some of his workload. Some of them did not work out. One woman in particular was there for less than a year. She was terrifying. I went in for a cleaning. Shouldn't be bad, right? I normally don't mind the dentist. I like having my teeth feel clean. But after her I could see how people could be terrified. She was so rough cleaning my teeth that my mouth was sore for 2 days afterward. I ended up spitting a lot of blood in the sink, which she neglected to wash down afterward. My brother ended up in the same room and was horrified when he saw it and came out commenting on it. Then she said I had a cavity, just a tiny one. So she decided to fill it right then and there, without Novocaine. She said it was small, so I shouldn't feel it. She lied. Also, I generally have pretty good teeth. Never really had a dentist yell at me. This experience was way out of the norm and there was no reason for her to go to town on my mouth like that. First worst, when I had 6 teeth removed. I was numbed up during the pulling, but at home I had nothing for pain. They don't prescribe pain medicine for that. I was in so much misery. And then we found out my tooth was so large that the lady tore the something. Can't remember the name. That leads to my sinuses. Some membrane or something. So for a couple months, I could blow bubbles in my drink in my mouth by doing the Valsalva maneuver, and would sneeze food out my nose. I never went back to her. I was so far beyond underwhelmed that I found another dentist. Second worst, I had my gums cut from one side of my jaw to the other and had bone drilled down on my jaw. So technically it was an oral surgeon, but he was working on my mouth, so I count it. The surgery was fine. Went well. I told them I can't take Tylenol because it makes me hurt so bad that the hydrocodone does nothing for the pain. I need Vicaprofen, hydrocodone and ibuprofen instead. Get to the pharmacy to find out they gave me hydrocodone with Tylenol and they don't carry Vicaprofen. The doctor wouldn't call it to another pharmacy either. So I had about 12 hours of semi-pain relief before the Tylenol pain set in. Then it was like all that existed was pain and nothing else. I have never felt more excruciating pain before in my life. That includes childbirth and a perforated appendix. I finally just started smoking marijuana until I could only feel my eyeballs, and the guy complained that I didn't take the hydrocodone and Tylenol. Glad I don't ever need to see him again. That membrane is called the Schneiderian membrane. Yikes. Hope you found someone better. Beyond the 4-hour-long waits for an appointment early in the morning, the dental assistant deep-throating me with a suction tool, having the dentist start drilling before I was numb, and having my boobs used as an extra tray. The worst experience was just recently when I had the first part of a root canal completed. It was 1 week before an overseas trip. The procedure went quick, worryingly quick, and I was out of the office in under an hour. Great, I thought, and despite being thoroughly stroke victim-esque numb for the rest of the day, I thought it went well. Well, first night in Rome, it was apparent that the infection was not all gone, and it came back with a vengeance. Within an hour of the first, sharp excruciating pain, my face was so swollen I looked like I had stuffed a baseball into my cheek. My husband called an emergency doctor for a house call. Other than shouting when he saw my face, the best he could do was prescribe painkillers, steroids, and antibiotics. I spent 2 weeks in Rome and Greece drugged up and taking pics from one specific angle. The last time I went, just before I turned 21 and aged out of Medicare coverage, I needed 2 cavities drilled and filled, and I wanted the wire taken off my bottom teeth. It was glued to the back of my teeth after my braces were taken off. I specifically requested that they give me the gas instead of an injection because I can't stand needles in my mouth. I qualified for the gas completely. I had a ride home and no obligations for the minimum 6 hours afterwards. I was old enough and healthy enough for it, and my insurance covered it. The old fart who worked on me completely disregarded all of my wishes, tried to stick a needle in my mouth, and when I couldn't open up for it he just continued without any anesthetic at all. He failed to completely clean out one of the cavities because I was flinching so hard, but he filled it anyways. A year later that filling crack came loose and fell out. It's now extremely sensitive to sugar to the point that eating donuts feels like getting a knitting needle stabbed into my jaw. And then he didn't take the wire off. I still stuck with the damn thing over 6 years later. Several times a year I either get cut or rubbed raw on the tip of my tongue and there's nothing I can do about it. I don't know whether I was treated this way because I was young, or female, or on Medicare, or too unsure of myself to insist on the requested treatment, but it really pissed me off. I have a hard time trusting dentists now, and most doctors, for the same reasons. Sorry, dental student here, and I just wanted to clarify that the wire put on after braces is meant to be there forever. It sounds like you really don't like it, but it's there so that it can help prevent your teeth from shifting after braces treatment. If it's hurting your tongue, you should definitely go to a dentist to get that dealt with. It's a super easy fix. I needed braces when I was 11, but they needed to pull out the remaining milk teeth. The orthodontist started putting the braces on the teeth he could, but referred me back to my dentist to have the milk teeth extracted. When I went for the appointment, he was fully prepared to pull out all 6 teeth in one go, but my dad was against it. We agreed to only do one at a time to see how it went. It did not go well. From the injection, to the yanking, to me screaming in pain, I ended up being referred to be put unconscious whilst they took the rest out. In later years, I've had root canal done on one of my teeth. Everyone I know said it was horrible and painful and I should just have it pulled. I ignored them and had the treatment. I was completely okay with it all, until in one appointment they rammed the mold to take an impression into my mouth and I started gagging and heaving. Took a few tries to get that done properly. When I was in 8th grade, I was doing a presentation on gonorrhea in health class. Everyone in the class had to do a presentation on a different STD, and halfway through the presentation I passed out, was told I had a small seizure, and fell flat on my face knocking out 2 of my front teeth. To repair my teeth took about 15 trips to the dentist over the span of 2 months, and each trip was at least an hour and a half long of drilling, filing down chipped teeth, Some sort of welding mechanism they use on teeth that would burn my tongue from time to time. I never had any issues since related to the seizure, but those constant trips to the dentist was one of the worst experiences I have ever had. Plus I hate the smell of latex, and constantly having a latex covered hand basically in my mouth made me want to throw up. Mid-root canal the numbing wore off. I raised my hand to stop the dentist, then explained I could feel it and it hurt. She stopped, very roughly have me another shot, gave it 5 minutes to set up, then started again. I could still feel it and it was incredibly painful. I raised my hand again and told her. She said, well, we're running late. I'm not stopping and I can't give you more anyway. Don't be a baby. I was so shocked and in pain. I wanted to run honestly, but I felt like I couldn't do anything. It took somewhere between 5 and 10 more minutes before she was done and ready to fill it. I didn't go back to a dentist for 2 years. And obviously I never went to that B again. I now have extreme dental anxiety. I had told my dentist that I was having persistent pain and showed him where. He said it was fine and sent me packing, even though I kept insisting something was wrong. This was a Friday. Saturday, I had plans to go to a friend's place for a small get together with grilling and it was late evening when the pain suddenly became unbearable. I was taken to the emergency room, where they forgot about me in the room for 4 hours while I kept ice water swishing around in my mouth to numb the pain all night. When they finally came in, they said, "Oops, we forgot about you in here." They gave me a shot of Dilaudid in my butt and sent me on my way home. The shot didn't kill all of the pain. It just made me delirious. In the morning on Sunday, we decided to go to an emergency dentist. The dentist said it was my tooth and I needed a root canal now. Cue procedure. They said it needed to be left open to breathe and I should go to my dentist when they were open. My dentist was so incredibly kind to squeeze me into his busy schedule and waive the emergency fee. Yes, it's dripping with sarcasm. If he would have taken me seriously in the first place, I wouldn't have been thrust into thousands of extra dollars in debt. His benevolence in penciling me in sure was inspiring. He then proceeded to become angry with the emergency dentist, saying that leaving it open was terrible and how dangerous that can be. He cleaned out and finished the work and made sure to never call me again for that crown he said he'd call me about. I like to think he was ashamed of himself and couldn't face me after his monumental failure. Went to get a few teeth filled. Wouldn't freeze. Was in agony. Dentist kept calling me a liar and telling me to stop whining. Said I needed 2 root canals. Told him I couldn't afford it and to leave them alone and just fill the other teeth he was working on. He started to root those 2 teeth anyways. Then got mad at me when I told him to stop because I was in so much pain. Finally had to get up, walk out and get my mother to come in to tell the guy to back the frick off. He patched the teeth with temporary fillings which fell out 2 days later and I left. Was still in so much pain. Saw my family doctor, who is also a surgeon, who asked for the X-rays the dentist took. I managed to get them and the doc saw that the reason I was in so much pain was my teeth in the maxilla, upper right area, were infected so badly it was actually visible on the X-rays. So I had a choice. The doctor could drill a hole above the teeth to let the infection drain, or he could just pull the 2 teeth the dentist started to work on. I chose to lose the teeth. Turned out it wasn't much of a loss. When the doctor removed them they shattered to bits, and would never have been able to be fixed from the get-go. The doc said that the dentist should never had touched me. If he had an ounce of intelligence he would have seen the massive infection on the dang X-rays. It was so bad it was going into my eye socket, and could have blinded or even killed me. Doc put me on a bunch of medications for the infection afterwards. The butthole dentist had put me through all that torture and charged me over $1,000 for the work he did. Thankfully my doc pretty much saved my life. I do not have phobia of the dentist, but I did encounter a dentist that claimed I had 8 cavities and made appointments accordingly. Given that I was young and this was a lot of work to be done, I decided to seek a second opinion. Well, there were no cavities. I was very upset over the whole thing, and so was my family. It would not have been possible to have 8 cavities in my mouth as I practice dental hygiene and go for cleanings every 6 months. I also don't do anything weird to cause cavities. Needless to say, I did not go back to that dentist. I had another bad experience where a dentist was fixing a cavity and we think she drilled so far that I had to go have a root canal. I also found out that 2 different friends who went to the same dentist had the exact same thing happen to them. That dentist was fired from the practice she was in and is now practicing somewhere else. I went in to have all 4 of my wisdom teeth removed. I can't remember how old I was, but I think I had it down younger than the norm, like pre-teens. My issue wasn't even really teeth related. They were going to put me to sleep in a chair, but they couldn't get my IV in. Now, I'd had multiple surgeries done on my eyes in recent years. I was no stranger to IV needles, but this place just could not get it in. They stabbed my hand at least 6 times before giving up and sticking my arm a few times before it went in. I seriously looked like a junkie. I had so many pricks on my arm. But that's not all. It wasn't just about needle pokes. I have no freaking clue what they were using on me. Googling hasn't gotten me anywhere. But before pricking me they were applying some weird numbing stuff. Gel, maybe it's been years. From a jar to my skin that seriously made my skin feel like it was freezing and burning at the same time. Now, couple this icy hot sensation with being repeatedly pricked with a noodle almost a dozen times. It hurt. I was full on sobbing and begging them to stop by the time they get it in. They ignored me, not a single word. I was still crying when they put me under. Woke up, went home, looked in the mirror and saw I had a long cut across my cheek. Oh, and I somehow appeared to have bitten off a small bit of my tongue at the side. That icy hot stuff is called Isohot TM and you can buy it at Walmart. Yeah, it's pain relief gel applied to the skin. Went in for a refill. Left side of my mouth. My filling popped out while my fat butt was going to town on a bag of party mix at work. I go in and the douche canoe that is my dentist asks if I'd like to have an impacted tooth. Right side of my mouth. Extracted while he's in my mouth. I was like sure, because the way it angled in really made sucking dong a bee. He looks all around my mouth, eyeballed my popped filling, and begins. So, he numbs me on the right side of my mouth and I assume he's doing the extraction first. He starts drilling. By the end of it he drilled 3 bottom teeth, 2 top teeth, and then did the extraction. One of the bottom teeth wasn't fully numbed and I was in too much pain to tell him to frick right off. It was horrible. More than $300 worth of work after insurance. The receptionist said he only did that much work because he thought my insurance would fully cover it and I should have said otherwise before he started. Been there multiple times before. Never had to say so before. It was right before Christmas so I think he went rogue for the extra money. I'd like to point out that I'm still constantly downing OTC pain meds because of the pain those teeth cause me. Went back and everything looked fine so I just need to suck it up. Went in with no pain. Seemingly no cavities. They see deep cavities via x-ray. Skeptical, though, and insist on work before it turns into a root canal. Leave in tons of pain for apparently months on top of months. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.